Hello, everyone, and welcome to another heavenly broadcast. I'm very excited to be here with you today. Today is day 8 of our sermon series on the resurrection of Jesus Christ, titled The Agony of Surrender. As Jesus and his disciples entered the Garden of Gethsemane on the night of his betrayal, he knew his final hour was drawing near. The weight of the sin's world was about to fall on him. In this moment of profound emotional turmoil, Jesus withdrew from his disciples to pray. The gospel accounts in Matthew 26, Mark 14, and Luke 22. They describe his intense prayer, where he asks the Father if there's any way for this cup of suffering to pass from him. Yet ultimately, he submits to God's will, saying, "Not my will, but your will be done, Lord." In this scene, Jesus reveals his humanity in the most vulnerable way possible. He feels the weight of the suffering ahead, both physically and spiritually. His agony is so great that, according to Luke, he begins to sweat blood. Luke 22:44 to be exact. This moment illustrates the intense emotional and physical distress that Jesus experienced. He was facing the reality of the cross. Jesus in human form is struggling with the task set before him. This is not merely a fleeting moment of discomfort. It's the profound agony of knowing that he will bear the sins of the world and also face separation from God when it comes. Yet in the midst of this anguish, Jesus demonstrates his divine strength by choosing submission to God's will. His prayer is a testament to his complete trust in the Father's plan. Despite the deep emotional turmoil he experiences, this act of surrender is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful statement of obedience. Jesus, in his human vulnerability, models the perfect example of submission to God's will. This moment is a direct fulfillment of prophecy from Isaiah 53:3 to be exact, which speaks of a Messiah despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Jesus, fully human and fully divine, fulfills this prophecy only through his submission and surrender to the Father. After Jesus' agonizing prayer, the peace of the garden was shattered. Judas Iscariot, one of his 12 disciples, had come to betray him. Judas approaches Jesus with a kiss, which was a signal to the soldiers who came to arrest him. The betrayal is a cruel twist of fate. One of Jesus' closest followers, someone he trusted, had turned against him. This moment fulfills the prophecy in Psalms 41:9, which foretold that the Messiah would be betrayed by a close companion. Zechariah 11, verse 12 to 13, also alludes to the 30 pieces of silver that Judas receives in exchange for his betrayal. Despite the pain of betrayal, Jesus' response is not one of anger or retaliation, but rather one of calm acceptance. He addresses Judas as friend. Friend? Acknowledging the betrayal, but not responding in violence or condemnation. This moment is a powerful example of the divine strength, even in the face of treachery. Jesus' ability to maintain his composure and to fulfill his purpose, even when faced with betrayal, reveals that the depth of his obedience to the Father's will. The arrest itself further underscores Jesus' submission. As the soldier seized him, Peter attempted to defend Jesus. He cut off the ear of the high priest's servant, but Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Put your sword back in its place. Do you think I can't call on my Father, and he will at once put all them at my disposal? More than 12 legions of angels?" Jesus could have called on divine intervention to escape, yet he chose to submit to the arrest, knowing that this was necessary for the path of redemption. The fulfillment of a prophecy continues at Zechariah 13:7, where it states, "They'll strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered," symbolizing the disciples' flight and fear. Jesus' calm acceptance of his arrest and betrayal further illustrates his divine strength. His willingness to endure the suffering ahead is central to the fulfillment of God's redemptive plan for humanity. Following his arrest, Jesus is taken before the high priest and religious leaders for questioning. The trial is marked by false accusations and unlawful proceedings. The religious authorities seek to find a way to condemn him. In Matthew 26, Mark 14, and Luke 22, we see how Jesus is mocked, beaten, and insulted. Yet, he remains silent in the face of accusations. When the high priest asks if he's the Messiah, Jesus responds affirmatively, fulfilling the prophecy in Isaiah 53:7, which says, "He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth." This silence in the face of injustice demonstrates his divine strength. Despite the false accusations and the pain he endured, he trusted in his Father's plan and remained obedient. In contrast, Peter, in his human vulnerability, denies Jesus 3 times, fulfilling Jesus' prophecy yet again. In Matthew 26:34, "This very night, before the rooster crows, you'll disown me 3 times." Peter's denial represents the fear and failure that come with being a human, even in the face of divine purpose. While Jesus faces his trial with unwavering faith and submission, Peter's vulnerability highlights the human tendency of fail and falter. This trial and false charges brought against Jesus are part of the prophecy of the suffering servant found in Isaiah 53:3-9. Jesus' submission to these unjust proceedings is a key step to fulfilling the ultimate plan for redemption, a path that requires him to endure suffering and injustice for the salvation of mankind. The events in Gethsemane, the betrayal by Judas, the arrest, and the trial are essential moments in the journey to the cross. Through these events, Jesus teaches us the power of surrender. So surrender to God's plan. Even when it leads us down a difficult and painful path, Jesus is an example of trusting in God's purpose. Despite the agony and injustice he faces, he provides us with a model of faith and obedience that calls us to follow him, no matter the cost. In the struggle between human vulnerability and divine strength, Jesus' life was a sacrifice, and it revealed the depth of God's love and his plan for salvation.